Welcome to Camp Chaos, where we celebrate the wild ride of modern womanhood.
Join us as we dish on motherhood, life's ups and downs, and all things pop culture that we know you want to talk about.
With special guests and expert insights, we're here to empower you through the chaos of everyday life.
Consider this your ultimate escape from the hustle and bustle. And as always, parental guidance suggested.
Camp is now in session.
Kristen Gaffney, wife, mama, businesswoman. You are so many things.
I know, it's a lot.
It's like, where do we start?
Where do we start? But here's what I think is so interesting is like the way you have built your brand is like you almost came from the sidelines and you inserted yourself into the front, literally, and we're going to get into it. But I think that's like one of the coolest parts of your story, and that's where I want to start from is like when things got interesting for you. So let's take it back to like when you met your husband, because before you were kind of like Tyler's cheerleader and like his partner and his support person. So let's take it back to when and how you met Tyler.
So before we get into like where I'm at now, I think it's interesting because I grew up very like average. Like I could have just rolled through the punches and worked a 9 to 5 for the man, retired when I was 60, probably partially happily married with like 2 kids, debt, all the things that are like 90% of America. So like no one ever gave me anything. I went to public school, all the things. So I actually, I was always a go-getter. So I was an athlete my whole life, four-year varsity, graduated college early. I was so excited to work and just like make money. I was so excited. And so I moved downtown Palo Alto and I was working for a company called Box. It was a startup at the time, which we ended up IPOing. So it was really cool to be part of like a startup where it's like, you know, your employee, it was still big. It was like almost 200-ish people when I joined.
You're like, cool. I'm making something of myself.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was like the movies. It was like we were rolling around on scooters, ringing gongs, doing shots when we closed a deal. Like it was super like a movie. And so I lived at the heart of Silicon Valley, downtown Palo Alto. And I had realized at the time that I was in an unhappy relationship. It just like, you're cool, but like there's no spark. I was not in love. And I was like, this is the moment where, you know, you're looking at rings, you're moving in together, all these things. I was like, I gotta go. And it's like, why? I was like, there's no reason. I can't, which is terrible. You're just not my person. Yeah. So I was single and my sister had become friends with some football players at Stanford and I knew nothing about them. We all would go out because I lived downtown by the bars. And so I just became friendly with them. And basically, I think it was like 5 months later, I wasn't even single for 6 months when I met Tyler. All the boys are like basically wasted. I was like, what's happening? Is it a birthday? What's going on? And they're like, Gaff's back. I'm like, who the fuck is Gaff? And I swear in slow motion, he turns around like Patrick Swayze. He's like, what's up? I'm Tyler. I was like,
you're like, hell yeah, you are.
Girl, the dimples, the smile. Like he was just so cool and confident to me. Like that's like the sexiest thing. It's like a calm confidence, not the loud guys. Like the Travis Kelce's like that is my nightmare. Dancing, like that's not my style. But he was just so cool and like confident with himself. And basically we've been together ever since, like the first night we met. And
that is so romantic.
The short end of the stick is like we just met at a bar, but it was just instant connection.
So when Gaff is back, he was obviously not playing Stanford football.
So he was a dual athlete. Stanford was one of the only schools, I think maybe USC too, was going to let him, he committed to USC. He's
almost a Trojan.
Yeah, so he committed to USC, but Stanford...
He would have been your husband and not yours.
Yeah. But Stanford's going to let him play baseball and football. So,
which is so wild to me. I did not know that that's like a common thing. I guess if you're athletic, you can just do multiple sports.
Well, it is not common to be that good at both sports that you can go play at a D1 level.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we'll hear the story of where it continues.
Yeah.
But
so he, at the time he had got drafted, he crushed it in both sports, but he got drafted by the MLB with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he went to play their farm system, which is minor leagues. And so he was gone when I was like friends with his friends. And I guess he said, you know, Snapchat was cool. He's like, I saw you in Snapchats and stuff. And I was like, who's this chick? And all of his friends were like, don't even try hooking up with her. She's a prude. We've all tried. And he just comes, you know, in. And so he came back because he's like, I have one more year of eligibility to play with the boys. He was like 3 classes away from essentially a free Stanford education because he was on scholarship. So he came back essentially for fun and ended up balling out. And it's so funny. We talk all the time because we watch college football or NFL now, and it's so glitz and glamorous now. 10, 12 years ago is different. Like girlfriends in a college level weren't flying around to games and wearing Gucci. Like that was not the case. Right. I think I had like a sports bra. It was a lot more
wholesome probably back then.
Very wholesome. I had like a little ribbon. Like, and I was.
That was your level.
That was it.
Not like custom Gucci.
No, I was wearing like Nikes, Lululemon, and like a sports bra that was like a crop top. Like that was like my game day fit. And I was so obsessed with him. Like I was so blinded. I look back now and he was on TV. He was like Tyler Gaffney and the Stanford Card. And they were actually good. They're struggling now, but they went to the Rose Bowl. But I was like, just like, oh my God, I love him. Like he's like, I'm obsessed with him. And so yeah, that's how we met. And then he ended up getting drafted by the Carolina Panthers for football. He was MVP, got drafted, and I'm still in Silicon Valley. And within training camp, he also got picked up off waivers because he got injured to the New England Patriots. So we're literally at the opposite ends of the country of Silicon Valley and Boston. Like we could not be farther apart. Yeah. So we did a year-long distance, and it was kind of like shit or get off the pot. Like we're either going to take it to the next level or we're not. And immediately we're like, move out here. You have to move out here. So I quit my job, which was 6 figures. I was crushing it. I was at the time like 23 with essentially middle-aged men like at the top of the leaderboard. Like I had a very successful career ahead of me. And I booked a one-way ticket. I sold all my furniture, my car, everything, got 2 luggages, and I went to Boston. And funny enough, within 3 weeks, I got pregnant.
Oh,
not even trying.
3 weeks?
No, yeah. Oh, and there was people like, oh, you're going to get pregnant. It's like everyone in Foxborough gets pregnant. And it actually was a blessing because I was kind of bored. Like, because he was at, they're gone
it's like, what
all
do you
day.
do?
What do you do all day?
You
like,
left your life.
I think there's like different levels of like housewife. And for me, just sitting around, and again, I'm young. I don't have any like real true passions except binge watching Scandal. And then I was bored. So I would just work out all day. So I got pregnant, and we were 22 and 24 at the time. He was just, we're about to turn 23, 25. So we were he's younger than me. So he was 23.
Wow.
And then we told his parents, and did not go as expected. It wasn't like, oh my gosh. It was like,
they're like, why did you do this?
I look like I trapped your son. Like the second I moved here. And now my in-laws are like my best friends. But yeah, so then we had our first kid. And then I was like, okay, don't you dare fucking propose to me. Like don't do it. Like it's gonna be so cliche. I get pregnant, you propose, the whole thing. I'm like, we're not doing it. Plus I was like chubby, all the things, first time mom by myself, no family. And so I think it was 11 months later, I was feeling myself again after having a kid.
You're like, I'm ready.
I'm ready. And so he proposes, and I get pregnant that night. So I had about like a week to 2 weeks where I was like, I'm going to look at Italy wedding planners. I'm looking at Thailand. This is what my dress is going to look like. I'm like getting quotes. You know how you're
going to the courthouse, sweetheart.
Yeah. And then I found out I was pregnant. And so, that threw a wrench in things. And with sports, you have to work around their seasons for weddings. And then I'm like, I'm having a wedding when I'm pregnant. And then ended up, I was about to have Conway, my second. I was 8 months pregnant. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to have like a different last name than my kids. Like, I need to know what your race is. Like, I don't know what the fuck you are. He's like a little bit of everything. Right. So we just were like, we have to be a family unit. And so we went to a courthouse, $100. I mean, I didn't even wear white.
Isn't it wild how easy it is to get married?
Oh, literally,
you just stand in the line.
Minutes.
We were a courthouse wedding too, and I was shocked. That. And it worked out because it was 2019 before the pandemic. And we were planning an Italy wedding, and then I'm like, I just want a baby. We knew IVF was our future, so I'm like, let's just go to the courthouse. But I was shocked you could be in and out within 15 minutes, and then be legally bound to this person.
That's
I was like, sorry, what? Helen?
It was a little too easy.
This little girl, Helen, who did our paperwork, she put on a robe, and she's like, okay, now I'm going to marry you. I'm like, are you sure?
We had
this was so easy.
23-year-old little dude with glasses, and I'm like, this guy just graduated.
Can't take you seriously.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a pregnancy, like a dress like this, honestly. It was tan. I was wearing Converse, and we're like, this is just paperwork. We're gonna have a wedding still. And
fast forward, have you?
Well, and I was bawling, crying, which means I also peed my pants because I'm 8 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. So I'm peeing my pants, like we're crying.
Ultimate glamorous moment.
We didn't tell anyone that we were pregnant or that we were married for a year. We announced it on our 1 year anniversary. Cause it was kind of like this Bonnie and Clyde, let's just see what the fuck they say. Oh, he's never going to marry her. All the things. And we're just sitting back we're about married, to have our second child and we're married, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So yeah, fast forward, we still have not had a wedding. He still wants to have one. I've just also never been that girl where I'm like, what kind of napkins? And, you know, and like, love that for you. I just like, we're also at a different phase in our life now, 3 kids in, multiple businesses. Like, our focus is just so different from a wedding. So I think one day, when we're for sure done having kids and I like get a mommy makeover and I'm like feeling fired, maybe it's like 10 years, we'll do like a big party.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so you guys had the 2 kids in Foxborough.
So we were back in San Diego because he was injured.
Okay.
And so his heart basically was broken. And he's like, I have to end, like, I'm done. I was pregnant, pushing him around in a wheelchair, and he's like 235 pounds at this time. He's like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I could, with a Stanford education, if it's money, like I can do this elsewhere. His heart was broken. And when your heart's out of the game, it's just not the same. So a couple months went by. What are we going to do? And he's like, I think I'm going to go back to baseball. And I'm like, all right, if you're going to do it, you're going to go all in. You're going to do everything you possibly can. So he went back to baseball, and I had Conway February 23rd. He was gone March 1st, and he was gone to Florida. So I was again alone. So I have like major PTSD with like one
having a baby and then being left.
Yeah, both times. I was like, this is never going to happen again. Football's done, and then it's spring training. So because of the minor leagues, it's not glamorous. Like, you're not getting paid $50 million. I mean, we had anything we could fit into one car. We shared a car. I had 2 babies under the age of 2. We were living in dorm rooms, like literally plastic mattress pads, putting beds together, no TV. And then he would be gone because of different schedule. It's game day every day with baseball. Like every day is game day. Football is the closest thing to 9 to 5 for a family unit. And then he'd leave at 11 because his game's at 7. So he's back at 11 o'clock at night. So he misses the whole day. And so...
Okay, so I'm dying because obviously we met your husband this morning when you guys came in. And the fact that he said, I went from private jets with the Patriots to living in a dorm room with 2 kids was like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Can you repeat that? Like, what happened?
Every week it was like steakhouse dinners. Who's got the bill? You know, that's what you think it is. And we're young. We don't have much responsibility at the time. And yeah, it's just a different level of success and glamour. It's not real life. Like, we look back now and we're like, that was not real life. That was Disneyland for adults. Like, it feels like a life we didn't even live because it's so far gone now, but it's just not reality. And so it was a very humbling experience. And I think it's actually really good for both of us because we have humble backgrounds, and just to remind us, like, you can have it and it could get taken away like that.
Totally. Yeah. And like, it's probably a very good reminder of like what matters at the end of the day.
Well, yes. And so with baseball, he was gone all the time, and he kept getting moved up, promoted, because there's like about 4 levels going to the professionals. And there's no doubt, like, we look now that everyone he played with is in the bigs right now. To each their own, but I could never be away from my husband like that. And he couldn't be away from me or our kids. Like, we are so connected and together all day. I mean, we're going to homeschool. Like, we just want to be together all the time. So if you paid us $100 million, like, I still wouldn't want that life. Not for me, not for him. So we had that conversation, and it was like, okay, we're not going to move forward with baseball. And he almost didn't finish the season because it was so hard to be away. Like, we were just over it at that point. So then he came back and then went back to football.
He went back to football?
Yeah, he got picked up by the Niners and then retired with the Patriots.
Stop it. I did not remember him. I didn't even remember him going back to football.
So it was in COVID, and I would be filming him because you couldn't do tryouts because of COVID. So the hardest time to make a comeback at a 31-year-old who's like ancient in NFL times, injured guy who just came off baseball in COVID, and he somehow made it. So like that alone, I remind him, because he's always like, I feel like a failure, imposter syndrome, like many athletes and highly high performing level people suffer with. I'm like, you did like unthinkable things. Like, not many people could have done that. And so, yeah, he got picked up. I was filming him on an iPhone at his high school, trying to show, his speed, timing him, the kids running in the back. Oh. And he made it back. So I'm proud of him. And then eventually he just retired with the Patriots. So
what's like one of my favorite parts about you guys is like how strong you are as a couple. And like, you don't even have to say it. Like, you can just feel it. You can feel it from your energy when you guys walk in. But that, Like, I don't know if people realize how hard it is to support your husband through those different, like, career
well, it's hard to
changes.
support your husband without being a professional athlete and, like, stand by. There's so much that life throws your way. But and then you add all of this.
People to see your failures is really hard. And for, like, people, like, you know, my husband, like, you're on display. And it's like, when we fail, nobody knows. I mean, maybe now they know because I want to just stop posting podcasts. But, like, when they fail, like, everybody knows. And that's a really big deal. And so, like, your guys' marriage is mean. People are so mean.
You know what makes me feel better about it all? Because I've had many different chapters in lives that we've lived. It's crazy. We feel like we've lived 9 lives. How mean people can be. What makes me feel better is like, you are mentally ill. Mm-hmm. Like if you are going online to try to intentionally hurt someone,
100%,
that's something wrong with you, and I will pray for you.
Right.
Because you must be so sad. Never once. There's people who piss me off, or I think certain things. I have negative thoughts too, and I don't like you, you know, but I stay away. Mm-hmm. I don't go online and talk about you behind a fake username to try to hurt you and spread lies or do, you know,
you couldn't imagine.
Like you must be so sad. So I hope you work on yourself.
Or broken.
So you're broken. So I that makes me feel better.
Okay, so let's talk into when Kristen became like powerhouse Kristen. Like when did you go from like the sidelines to like, no, I'm like the MVP in this family?
I might be wrong, but I feel like it was like kind of during COVID.
Yeah.
Because I just have to say, like, you have always been a girl's girl. And I remember I was just starting to post and I would reach out to you of like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You're like, get your media kit together. Like you are willing to help other girls build their brand. And I feel like you were like really building yourself up during COVID. Is that when you really started?
I would say so. I think like kind of what put me on the map was Sports Illustrated, and that I actually applied for the first time. I did it 2 years. First time was actually in that dorm room with 2 kids under 2. Like I was everything wrong for Sports Illustrated. I was size 6, postpartum, stretch marks, old. I was 30 years old. No agent, knew nothing about PR, nothing. I was as green as it gets. And people became interested in the NFL, you know, but social media wasn't where it was then, where it is now. And so that kind of put me on the map. And I think that experience, while it had its flaws and, you know, wasn't the best, it taught me that if I thought it and I just went after something, I'm like, oh my God, I got it. Like, holy shit, tens of thousands of girls, I did it just by trying.
Mm-hmm. Putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and I think like that was my biggest takeaway is like, if I just put myself out there for better or for worse, no matter who tries to bring me down, like I can really do cool shit. And so I kind of like became addicted to like, well, I'm going to try it. If I fail, I fail. But I know I'm going to learn something. If I learn one thing, then it's worth it. Yeah. And I'll carry that on to the next thing. So I've tried a million things. And sometimes I failed. Sometimes it just wasn't for me.
Okay, but can we have a moment? Being postpartum with 2 babies back to back in a dorm room.
Yeah.
And thinking like, I'm not feeling good in your body. Me like, I'm going to try out for Sports Illustrated.
That swimsuit.
You sound
delusional.
That sounds delusional.
Delusional.
But the fact that you're like, no, I got delusional confidence.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I feel like we all could take a page from that because that's badass.
I think in order to do these like crazy big things, you have to be a little bit delusional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're not, then you're going to be like everyone else. And that's okay. Like some people are comfortable with that. But like, I'm such a firm believer of being like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Every scary thing or everything I've done that scared the absolute fucking shit out of me made me better and like moved the dial, right? You know, to get where I want to be. Everything I've done that's scary has been so rewarding.
When you did Sports Illustrated the second time, that's when you made it into the
actual magazine.
The actual magazine. Okay, what was that experience like, and how did that like start to really change your brand?
I think, you know, it wasn't what it was all hyped up to be. They're a different brand than they were 10, 15 years ago. Like I grew up with like Hannah Jeter, like just sex appeal. Like that's what I wanted. I was like, put baby oil on me, make me look skinny. Like I want to look like a baby seal, like no cellulite. And it was COVID. So we were in Atlantic City. I swear there's like a fucking dead body that washed up. Like it was just like bad lighting. Like I didn't like the pictures. Like cellulite was really in, I guess. Like just no one liked their pictures. And like everyone got their pictures and then edited them. Yeah. And I was like, and then also just like, that's such a race that I just realized I wasn't willing to be a part of anymore. I don't want to say mean girl, but it is political like any other business. And I just wasn't willing to sacrifice like myself, my beliefs, my voice, just so I could adhere to a company's voice and what they believe in. But I made a lot of connections. I have lifelong best friends from it. I learned a lot. And I obviously gained a ton of confidence from it that just went on to the next thing.
Yeah, and probably helped you like start to see what, like narrow in and hone in on what's next. At what point do you make the big move to leave California? Because I feel like that's like when you
that's when
started taking off.
So also with the SI thing, like as cool as it was, I think it's also important for anyone listening, like if you realize you don't want something, that's just as important as going, you know, like it's like
knowing when that this is not for me.
That's good. Like I just realized it's not for me. So after that, it was COVID. I tried to keep my mouth shut because I was like, fuck, I can't tell them I'm not vaccinated. So I had to like lie that I'm vaccinated, just so I could do a shoot. You had to do COVID tests, all these things. Like for me personally, I didn't love or believe in. I thought it was kind of yucky and predatory. And it wasn't just SI, it was everyone was doing it at the time. So after SI was done and I could kind of like use my voice again, without the fear of not being let into the magazine, I really spoke out. And I think it was actually, I remember the first time I spoke out, it was with the whole George Floyd, I think it was May, I was in Colorado, and I had reposted something from Candace Owens, and I got so many DMs. I didn't even know who she was. I was like, here's this beautiful woman. She's very eloquent. She's bringing facts. And I agree with this. I had no idea who she was. People were like, you can't post that, Kristen. Do you even know who that is? I'm like, I don't. Like, who is it? No, it's terrible. You have to delete it. And that was the first time someone told me, like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, ew. No. Like, why are you telling me what to post and to not post and coming after me as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, because of what I'm saying and using with my voice? And that only furthered, like, added fuel to the fire with me.
Yeah, it's like somebody's trying to silence you and it's like, no, you just gave me a louder microphone.
So also, because you're trying to silence me on, it wasn't just George Floyd, you know, it's COVID, it's vaccines, it's all these things. The more you try to silence me, the more I'm going to question, like, this is sketchy. So I just started really doing my research and sharing. And I think that's when I started to get this following of, I lost, you know, people, but we don't want the Karens anyway. Like, see yourself out, totally fine. We're not for each other. I think I got a lot of loyal women mostly, and they kind of looked to me as a voice because they were scared. Like, thank you for saying this. I want to say this, but my husband's a firefighter. I'm scared to say this. I have a job, or like, I'm scared. Like, what do I do about my school vaccines? Like, so many women started to share their stories and like really lean on me. So I didn't feel pressure at all because I was like, I'm going to own it. And sometimes I mess up, or sometimes I have to be like, oh, actually that research was incorrect or funded by a certain political person. So
you can't believe everything that you hear on the internet, but at the same time, you have to be able to do your research and then back up your research because the internet is a wild place. And if you say one wrong thing, they will come for you.
Yes. So I make sure I'm using links, I'm using studies, I'm using facts, and I've really just...
And the word allegedly.
Allegedly. So I think I really gained a lot of momentum there and just added more confidence. And then for me personally as a mom, for me and my husband, we can work anywhere we want. That's the lives we've created for ourselves. That was important for us. And I also, to anyone who says, oh, well, must be nice. Like, your husband was in the NFL, or must be nice. You know, all this stuff. No one has ever handed us $1. No family, no friends. No one has ever handed us $1. Everything we have, we've worked for, and we have molded for ourselves. There has been opportunities for me. I was in a 9-to-5, he was a 9-to-5, and we didn't enjoy it, and we created our own lives. So is it nice? Of course it's nice because we created this for ourselves. So you can too. Like, anyone is fully capable. It is 2024. No more
2025.
2025. Yeah. And more than ever, it is like no one's stopping you.
Yeah.
So we started to look like, okay, the school, like, it's basically getting kind of weird and creepy here with like the
California.
The push on sexualization with kids is my thing. And my kids are still young where I have, you know, quote unquote control over them. But as they get older, they're going to be around kids with cell phones, iPads, these games and things that they're looking at without parental control. Like, so many parents I've gone to barbecues and their parents are just boozing while their kids are playing Roblox with Pennywise the Clown murdering someone. I'm like, do you know what your kids are doing? But they don't. So I lost a lot of trust with, like, we don't do play dates. We don't do sleepovers. Like, you don't play date? Sure, come to my house. Yeah, they can come here. Parents come here. They can bring their booze if they want. Like, we're going to be in our house, open doors, always. And the more I also discuss, thankfully, like, I was never a victim of like sexual abuse, but the more I talk about it, this is getting kind of deep and dark, but the more I talk, the older you get, the more you kind of share your trauma.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
Women share it, especially as moms, you really, all your fucks go out the window. The more I talk about it, the more I'm hearing from other moms, like, oh yeah, my nanny molested me. Oh yeah, this happened. Oh yes, this happened. I'm like, wow, does this just happen all the time? And I think it's 2 out of 3 women on some level were harassed or abused. So that just brought my kids even closer. And so I'm like, fuck it, I'm out of here. Like, so, and we have a great setup. We have his family, you know, we have amazing friends, but we kind of lived in a bubble, but I just felt like the walls were closing in on me and our family, and I was losing control. So we looked at, if you can't tell, we looked at red states, and we looked at no state income tax. Like if we're gonna move, we want to make sure it makes sense with
across
our values,
the board, yeah.
across the board.
Yeah.
And we landed on Tennessee. You know, had amazing seasons. It was great across the board, and it just felt like we kept going back every few months to really. We didn't go to Nashville, the city. Like we didn't go on Broadway. Like that wouldn't be my life. My life would be
Suburbs.
on the outskirts, going to Sprouts, and what do the schools look like? What is my real life going to look like? And so it just felt really wholesome. Like there's a church on every corner. Like there's a Starbucks here. People look at you in the eye. Like that was like staggering to me. It took me a couple of weeks because.
Like, why are you looking at me? Why are you making eye contact?
Yes, because here you go to Starbucks. You're like, what do you want? Okay, bye, tip. You're like, fuck that.
Right.
Like, and here they're like, hey, how you doing? Where are you going? Like, on the next thing you know their grandkids' names and where they just got into college.
At first, you're probably like, what do you want from me?
That's how it was.
Like, this
I was
feels
like,
weird.
who are you? What are you? Like, what do you need? What do you want? And it took me some time to adjust. But, yeah, we've just really slowed down, and it's been so good for us. I mean, you guys know, like your kids, you hear it goes by so fast, like it really does. And I just want to hold on to them for as long as I can. And I just want to make sure like they're my best friends, and I want them to feel like I'm their best friend forever.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so obviously COVID was like the period of awakening for you, like so many other women and not other people, but I feel like especially moms of just trying to research. After you started researching, was it primarily of like, okay, the COVID vaccine and then adolescents vaccines? Like where did your research lead you to?
I think, okay, so COVID vaccine, yes, that was like what started it. And honestly, there was a couple school shootings, and that's what opened my eyes. There's a couple studies out there about the correlation between school shooters and SSRIs, which are essentially antidepressants. And I went down a rabbit hole of just big pharma and all the money, all the lies, all the addiction. And then I went down to drinking, just like things that are so normalized and sexualized here. Like how many of our friends are like, I just took a Xanax, like
glorified in some ways.
Glorified. And like the average person in America has 3 prescription medications, and that's a lifelong customer. So I was like, fuck this. Like it's all very predatory to me.
It's a business.
It's a business. It's a $1 trillion business. Yeah. So, I just went down that rabbit hole. Of big pharma, which then led to food. And food is something I feel like I have control over because it's my house, my kitchen. I control what I buy. And I have 2 eyes that I can look at the ingredients and see where things are sourced. So I feel like that was the best first step for me to really like regain control of our family unit inside our home with our kids and our health. And I became very, very passionate about it.
So I find it interesting because I have similar views to you. And I think that part of me has had to take a backseat in some ways because it can also get like dark where you feel like it's like, they're coming after me. They're coming after my kids, like through the food, through the system, you name it, through the schools, that it's almost like the stress of that can also be very unhealthy. So how do you protect yourself? And I'm asking for a friend, but how do you protect yourself and like your family from not getting too caught up?
Well, I've had those thoughts too. Like I've even gone on podcasts and been like, I will never kill myself. Like, you know, like, I
just announcing it here.
Yeah. And like super small things where I'm like, I didn't want to get any like work done on my body in California. So I'm like, what if they say it's like botched and I die on the table? Like I was freaked out. Like
you can get to dark places. Yeah.
And you just never know. Like, and I'm also not big enough at all where people would even notice. They could just easily get rid of me. So no one will know. You're gonna be sad. So I'm just like, oh. So anyway, when I go down the dark rabbit holes, I too have to check myself when it's starting to get too dark or it's starting to affect my day. Because there's definitely been times where I'd get, mostly when I was in California, I would be so angry that I felt that no one around. I was like, they're just out here living their lives.
And nobody understands.
No one understands. Like, why was no one freaking
care.
out? And I would get mad at other people, strangers who I don't know. And once I started feeling that like kind of animosity and like anger, that's when I had to check myself. And I mean, leaving the state has obviously really helped, but I think it's just, again, checking yourself that like, what can I control? So that's kind of like my home base when it comes to food or all this information or politics or schools. It's like, what can I control? Then I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I feel like you're followers, like you gained, even for me, like so much loyalty with moms, because you were like the person who was speaking out and questioning things that probably a lot of us have questioned, but maybe are too afraid to find answers, or frankly, maybe too lazy like me. Like I'm like, okay, I'm just going to I'm a rule follower. So I'm like, okay, just whatever people tell me. Like
a lot of people are.
Yeah.
I think we're bred to be
rule followers, which is like half the problem, right?
Yes.
At what point were you like, what triggered you enough to like start speaking about things with kids and like as a mom? Because I feel like I think you were the first person, which I can't believe I'm admitting this, but that like introduced me that I shouldn't be eating seed oils, which like I should have known that, but I didn't know that. Yeah. Like I just did what I just told my dad about seed oils. He had no idea.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
a tough generation to crack.
We cannot be doing seed oils.
They're so tough to crack. I've given up on
potato
that.
chips down.
But like, where did you start? Like, was it the food? Was it the system here in California? Like, where was it?
It was definitely for me the food. And you know who really, and I always give him credit, is Callie Means. I became an avid. He's huge right now.
He's
huge. I like joke
that
I definitely did not find him, but I had him on my podcast like almost 2 years ago.
No, you did not.
I saw him and I was like, this guy. And when we had him on I used to have a podcast and we had him on, like, he's one of those geniuses where you're like, he might be on the spectrum, like they'll touch the tism or something, because you can literally, you're across the room and you're like, I can feel your brain working. Like he just pumps out facts and stats and he backs, like he is not emotional. He's not conspiratorial. He's fully facts. And when he started talking about seed oils, that like lit a flame in me. And because again, I just think it's something, it was man-made in the 90s. Like all these to me is the common denominator. There's a couple things that I think just need to go, and it's birth control and it's seed oils. I think these are both man-made to hurt us, harm us, and kill us. And we've seen skyrocketing evidence that supports that. There has to be other ways. And there are other ways. Mm-hmm. Like people are like, what would I do without my birth control? I don't know. Use a fucking condom.
Right.
He will use it. Yes, you have a pussy. He will use it.
He will use it.
Sorry, I hate saying that word. But like, I hate that argument so much. Like it causes depression. It causes anxiety. It causes infertility. And it causes breast cancer. Like it shows this, yet we're still doing these things to ourselves because it's been so normalized.
Right. Did you, at one point, I would assume, like, have seed oils in your life?
Oh yeah, totally.
And then something when you heard,
I just think I had good intentions. Like most people and most moms, they have good intentions. It says low fat, it says low sugar, but you just gotta read it. You gotta turn it around.
You want the full fat.
You just need to look at these like things like the Hateful Eight. So look up the Hateful Eight. Those are the ones that you need to avoid. Take a screenshot on your phone. That's how I start. I favorite it on my phone. Does it have one of these 8 things? And that's where I started with my family. I don't
start small so it's attainable. And like I feel like though, because we eat out a lot, like we love going out to a restaurant, and I feel like that is where so much anxiety comes in, because if you're eating out 50% of the time and then who knows what they're using, like do you guys ever eat out?
I have a trick for you. Just tell them that you're allergic to oil and your food needs to be cooked
butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe they will, maybe they won't, but there's 50-50 chance they will.
Yeah.
I feel like this conversation though is getting so big. I went to Hotcakes the other day, which is like a local breakfast spot, and they had a menu. Their menu at the front said, "Here's when we use seed oils. Only for French fries. Our waffles are cooked in butter." It's such a conversation now.
And a lot here in Orange County.
Yeah, oh for sure. And I'm seeing that too. Like there's a restaurant we go to and it's a seed oil free. Everything in this whole store is seed oil free. Like it's so hot right now. Tyler and I joke that I think it was Steak and Shake, like a McDonald's type of fast food. They just came out and said that they're going to start cooking their fries in beef tallow.
Wow.
I haven't even looked at the numbers, but I bet they gained customers.
Amazing.
100%.
So if you're smart business, you will get rid of seed oils right now. You will attract, because everyone's looking for that right now.
Yeah.
So that's, if you're a business and you get rid of your seed oils, then you're going to
and there's the app that you can find all the restaurants that don't use.
Yeah.
Did you notice a big difference in your kids when you started like pulling ingredients?
Yes. And so that's another thing with kids too, is like, I always want to make sure, because I've been around, like, I don't know how I don't have an eating disorder based on like the people and family and friends that had them. But I want to make sure I'm always aware of like, they're still so young. I don't want to cause any issues. I want them to have
feel like food anxiety is such a thing.
Yes. So I want to make sure
you want a healthy relationship with food and your kids.
Food and activity. So like, I think as a parent, something I learned, this was mostly with going away for work, is like, okay, don't just leave for the country for a work trip and then come back and say, I'll see you in 7 days. I'm leaving because, and explain the why. I'm going to support our family, and, you know, always explain the why to your kids, I think is super important. So that's what we do with food. It's like, well, we don't have this because this is what it does to your body. And you dumb it down based on their age.
Because you don't want the kid that's going to go to somebody else's house or be at school and be exposed and then like binge eat all of that because they'd have never gotten
my
it.
Kids genuinely, they genuinely believe. My boys are 7, almost 7 and 8. And they genuinely believe if you're on an iPad that your brain will melt. They really believe it. They think your brain will melt. Like I've convinced them.
Oh, I love it.
So they think your brain's going to melt. And then with certain foods and seed oils, they think like, they basically think it's poison.
It makes them
it's
sick.
Poison, and it's going to make me sick, and it's going to make me stupid. And I tell them I love you so much.
Okay, question for you. What do your kids snack on?
Super True. Yeah.
Super True, which we will get into.
So some brands I'm loving is, I think it's like the Bear Fruit, Lesser Evil, because people are like, well, let your kids live. It's like, there's so many
There's
brands.
tons of like, and they are slightly processed, don't get me wrong, modified from the rate. But like I have a pantry where I have the Bear Fruit. I've got all the things, the chomps. Like I have the things that, don't get me wrong, they're in plastic. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
But you need to have something that you can snack and grab. It's not going to be perfect. And that's the anxiety I feel like you have to get rid of.
Yes, you have to. And like, even as a founder, like our bars aren't perfect. And I'll be the first to admit that. But if you can just get rid of one thing, like, so for us, it was like, just get rid of seed oils. So like, some things might have sugar, some things might be wrapped in plastic. We're not perfect here, but like, we're trying.
It's a lot better.
It's better, and we're moving in the right direction. Our intentions are good. We're educating our kids, and it's better than a Pop-Tart, you know? So I think if our intentions are good and we're trying, like, that's all that matters. 80-20 in everything in life.
When you started speaking about like the food thing and just like all of your beliefs, that's when the momentum started taking off. And we are certainly like not a political podcast by any means, but like I'd be remiss to like not talk about what you have done in this recent political campaign. How did you start to just like get opportunities and kind of like really be in the conversation? Because I think a lot of more people are talking out now, but people aren't getting in the conversation the way you're getting in the conversation.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, honestly. Like it's one, with the people I've surrounded myself with, they're all very confident and very smart. I always like to say, like, I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room, otherwise I'm in the wrong room. And I also suffer from imposter syndrome. So when we were just in DC for the inauguration, I was like, where the fuck, like, how did I get this invite? Like, I was like, I should not be here. I was shaking hands with prime ministers, like governor of Israel, like all these people, like CEO of Rumble, like crazy people, like Don Jr., all these people. And I'm like, how? Like, this is, but I did not just slide by the way, Secret Service security in the biggest weekend in DC. Like, I'm obviously supposed to be here. So that's something I definitely struggle with and I'm working on. But I think when I left my podcast, I had a podcast and we're having 2 different conversations. Still one of my very best friends, love her. But I think it was California issues. That's what I first started speaking out, like vocally really about, was like the homelessness, things happening in our kids' school and the sexualization. And that's when I realized I was having political conversations. I wasn't having just, because I started doing my research and reading articles and, you know, what are these governors saying? What is Newsom saying? What are these, like, I was really going the next level on the political scale, unintentionally, honestly. And in doing so, I started having conversations with people on the political side, and mostly around food. Like I mentioned, Callie Means, one of my favorite conversations I ever had, a friend of mine, and I love what he's doing. But I just realized, like, that's where my passion was. And whether it's a sport or it's art or it's food, which unfortunately has become political, like, you should follow your passion. Like, it fuels me up. Like, I love it. I was watching RFK's hearing today and I was getting fired up. I was taking notes for what? I don't know. Like, just in case.
Like, I'm a student.
Yeah. But I think, like, it started for me when I announced I was leaving for Tennessee, and I had talked about the homelessness. And someone from Fox News reached out to me and says, hey, I want to write an article about, you know, sports, which I hate. They say Sports Illustrated model Kristen Gaffney. It's like, no, I'm Super True founder Kristen Gaffney. So I'm trying to get away from that. But that opened up other doors. And then Jesse Waters called me that same night when that came out. And I'm like, whoa. Jesse Waters wants me to go on live TV in front of tens of millions of people. And I had to say yes.
So when was this?
This was last April.
Wow.
It was last April.
So it's been a very busy year.
Yeah.
She has been very busy.
Very busy.
So then when you were on Jesse Waters, was that like, okay, I'm speaking up with RFK, like...
At the time, that was my first segment was around the homelessness.
Okay.
I was studying. I was so nervous. They sent a van to come to my hotel in Nashville. And but I always say run towards fear. Like, if it's scary, do it. 110%, even if you fall on your fucking face. And there's been times where I'm like, fuck, I stuttered, or, oh, I should have said this instead. Like, it's live TV. Like, I'm going to mess up.
Yeah.
But it was such a rush. And I don't watch my interviews, by the way. I won't watch this unless you have awesome clips and I'll post it. But, for content, obviously. But like anytime I go on live TV, I never watch it. I don't want to know what people are saying. I don't want to criticize myself. I said what I said because I believe it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get in my own head and try to be, which I did with Sports Illustrated, is, try to not fully say what I want to say, or not say this because, no, I said what I said because it came from my heart, came from my gut, and I believe in it. And people will do what they will with that information.
What was Tyler's reaction when you started? Like,
he's so supportive. He's
I know,
my biggest fan.
That's awesome. Really is. But I feel like this can be scary. Like,
for sure.
Your wife is putting herself out there talking about scary things.
And I think the best decision I ever did was like choose. I don't want to say choose, but choose him as a husband. Like, choosing your partner is the biggest decision you'll ever make. Because
it is.
I know men and women who will tear their partners down and like belittle their dreams, or be realistic, or you can't do it, you shouldn't do that, which is a stupid word. He's the first person ever, and why I knew like he was the one. He'd be like, so like, what do you want to do? Like, what do I want to do? I'm supposed to go to the office and sit in the cubicle. No, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, oh, when that was the first time at 22 years old, I was like, well, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that. And he's always been so supportive. His thing is always, if you're going to do it 110% and go after it. Run towards fear is what we always say.
I mean, when he came in today, he's like, Kendra's like, what do you do? He's like, I do her business stuff. Like, that is,
it's awesome.
Crazy.
He helps me so much.
Role reversal
takes a confident man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And to like trust that you're going to be okay out there, because you're putting yourself out there, and I'm sure you get
exposing a lot.
A ton of stuff now on social. If you thought social was bad before, I'm sure you're getting it.
Oh, it's bad. I've looked at some things twice, and I will never do it again. Because they're mentally ill and they're sick and they're twisted, and it's not going to make me feel good.
Yeah.
And just like food or people I'm with, like, how are you making me feel? Are you taking away? Are you energy vampire is what I call it? Or are you a charger? Are you making me feel good? Am I leaving conversations motivated, excited, like talking about real things? Like, that's who I want to be around. And I also always say, like, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. Mm-hmm. In this process, I've lost a lot of friends. Some for reasons, some just faded. I never talked to them again, which is weird. It's almost like a breakup. Like, some people were my best friends, and I just I just didn't know it was the last day I was going to talk to them.
Just fades away.
And it just happens. Maybe they served that chapter of my life, and now I'm in a new chapter, and I have awesome people who are incredible around me, and my husband is confident, and that's what attracted me in day one. And I think it takes a confident man to support a woman like myself, who's constantly trying new things and doing scary things. But I think also that's just like him being confident in his own masculinity. Yeah. And I think a confident man in his own masculinity is actually only going to bring out my femininity.
Yeah.
And I think people nowadays have that so reversed and twisted of this toxic man. Is that we're very traditional, but like, we're very traditional, but look what I'm doing. I can still be traditional and go after my dreams and be a mom. Yeah. Like, I can do it all. I don't have to be in one box. I can be in 7 boxes if I want to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make him toxic in any way, shape, or form, because he supports me, or he has my best interest. Everything he says and does, I know more than anyone in the world, there's nothing in it for him. Like, there's nothing. He only has to gain or lose what I have to gain or lose. So no one has my back more than him.
Yeah, I love it. You do show both sides, like the traditional side, the passenger princess, the whole thing. But then you show, like, we get to see this where he's like fully supporting you. Let's get into Super True. Yeah. And like how that came to be and where you guys started and where you are now.
Speaking of, Tyler just walked in and he scares me. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, she had her call already.
Yeah, I already had it.
Yeah.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad.
See, that was my God. That was on cue.
Just talking
Daddy's home.
Wow. Yes. So that I swear I didn't plan that, guys. He's just got my back. So Super True. Yes. So as I started to like grow in my confidence and being outspoken, and realizing I was capable of doing what I wanted, really, which we all are, I knew I wanted to own a business. I realized, I've been so fortunate enough, from the NFL to MLB to Sports Illustrated, I've met a lot of well-to-do people. And there's 2 things in common. They either own a company or they own real estate. So I'm like, if I want to retire young, and that's my goal, so that I could I'm so obsessed with my husband, my kids. I just want to be with them all the time. I want to travel the world. I want to retire young. So in order to do that, I have to do these things. So we started flipping houses, and then I knew I wanted to create a company. But I also knew, because we had been involved in a couple e-commerce companies, more as like advisors or, co-founders, never the full founder supporter, and putting all of our finances in it. I knew I needed to create a community and a brand. Like, I could easily white label a product, throw it out the wall, sell it on Facebook ads and make money. Like, I could do that. But if I want to grow a brand, that's going to take so much more passion. So over the years, I found my passion in food. And so what's something I could live and breathe and talk about, go on podcasts, go on news segments, or talk to moms at the grocery store or at school, and like actually have passion behind what I'm selling. Otherwise, I'm a fraud. I'm just selling shit to make money. So obviously it was food. Once I narrowed that in, and I started it when I was a couple months pregnant with Nala. So it's about a 2-year process between moving, life, 3 kids, and I'm the CEO, I'm the CFO, I'm the CMO, I'm the customer support, I'm everything. And it's fully funded by myself. I have no investors. So it took about 2 years, and I decided on no seed oils. And it couldn't have worked out better with God's timing. This was supposed to come out a year ago. This was still when only kind of like weird, like anthropology moms would talk about seed oils and raw milk. Now everyone's talking about it. So it was a blessing in disguise that things kept getting pushed, whether it was design or budget or manufacturing. It all got pushed to the perfect timing when RFK joined with Trump as, his health advisor. That's when I launched Super True. So it was God's timing with it all. Because now seed oils are so hot.
People are talking about it so much more.
So that was my shtick. I'm like, it's not going to be perfect. Like we talked about, it's going to have sugar in it. It's going to have natural flavors. Because my thing too is like, it has to taste good. Yeah. Like, unfortunately with kids, as we know, if they don't like it, they're not eating it. And you might get one chance. Otherwise, they're only eating chicken nuggets, blueberries for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. I know parents who carry around jugs of apple juice, Mott's apple juice, because that's all they'll drink. Which, by the way, is an enabler. Don't do that. So I wanted it to taste good, and because I have to come back as a returning customer, and I wanted no seed oils. So I'm not going to be perfect, but we're going to have no seed oils. So that was like my shtick, and it all was just perfect timing with the movement going on.
It's amazing.
What was the process like of actually building the bar? So Super True is a snack bar.
Yes.
Aimed at kids that has all wonderful ingredients in it.
It tastes so good.
But I wouldn't even know where to begin if I was like, I want to start a snack bar. Where?
So I took a year.
Who do I talk to?
I took a year, and we're again so fortunate to have like a Rolodex of amazing people and founders. And the thing about founders too, and people, I feel like at a certain level, they want to help other people.
They want to mentor you.
They want to mentor you. They want to, even if selfishly, they want to say like, I helped them a little bit, or I introduced them to that person.
Because somebody down the line had helped them in the past.
Exactly.
Or they did it, and they got all of the hard work and lessons
and you learn along the way.
Yeah.
And so, some questions. So I spent almost a year. And one year I talked to one founder who's like, we got to talk to this guy. You got to talk to this girl. You got to talk to this. And it was just this circle of people who wanted to help me that I had never even met. And it was mostly just Zooms. And some questions I would always ask are, who's your first hire? And always, if you could go back, obviously, what's the most expensive mistake you made? What's something you would have done differently? What was your biggest, ROI and investment? When did you take investment? So my goal the first year was just to collect all information. And they, everyone usually comes to about the same conclusion. So now that I know the end goal, how can I work backwards? Mm-hmm. And so I got introduced to manufacturers. We, which is the process. And then we developed a bar. I didn't make this in my kitchen. I wish I had that story, but I hired food scientists to also go along with like the FDA regulations and all the laws in California, manufacturing, cross-contamination. So I wanted to make sure I did it the right way, which is an expensive way.
Yep.
And I'm funding it all. So I put my whole life savings into this. Like my days at tech that I wanted to buy a house for, I said, fuck it. I'm going to create something that could potentially be more than a down payment on a house. So I have the most skin in the game. So it was a slower process, and with 3 kids, and I was active in school with the kids as well. So developing the bar was first. Taste test, I had focus groups of my kids' baseball team. I'd send them home with them, would tell me what you think, and they'd be like, I don't like it. I'm like, great, back to the drawing board. And the parents too, what do you think? What about the packaging? Is it too oily? Is it too this? Is it that? And so then we came to conclusion on these 2 bars. And so we have 2 bars, 2 flavors. one of them, because our manufacturer said chocolate brownie is 70% of bar market. So I'm like, okay, well, statistically, I should have a brownie. Yeah. But I wanted it to taste like mom's brownie bowl. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you kind of lick the bowl.
Yes, I can taste that right now.
That's what this tastes like. And then this one is Chunky Monkey. We have an obsession with Elvis in our family. So like his famous peanut butter, banana, bacon. So they couldn't put bacon in it, but it's as close as you could get. It's peanut butter, banana, chocolate chip, and it's my favorite. So those are the 2 flavors, and we're working on new products.
Wait,
right now.
You can't just like talk about it. I need to try it now.
I know.
Come on, what are you doing?
Do like halvesies.
Okay.
Here.
I need to try.
It's so cute.
The chocolate brownie.
I actually would love to know from your audience if anyone's had Super True, because my biggest like feedback.
6 grams of protein.
Yeah, it has That's our claim too. We can claim protein and fiber, which also is great for kids who can't poop, because that's a huge issue for kids too.
No artificial ingredients.
No dyes.
Colors from nature.
Yep.
You can already
gluten-free. Gluten-free.
Yeah, they're so good.
Are they nut-free or no?
They're gluten-free, dairy-free. No, we have the nut-free one coming next.
Okay.
So that's a next thing that we're doing for the next flavor.
This actually so good. Tastes like I just licked the brownie bowl.
Right? That's what I think so. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm like, I love it.
Can you get these on Amazon?
Oh my God.
Not yet. So we're walking before we can run. So because I'm working backwards, I have to take the right steps. You know, you see all these brands.
Hand yours over.
No, you're going to die.
This is so good.
I love it. Well, that's the thing. Our feedback is the moms and dads are taking it. So we're
I would eat this.
My husband's going to eat that one.
We're thinking about maybe doing some sort of rebrand where it's like a family snack, because they're big enough and tasty. Like, I eat these every day.
But we eat our kids' snack every day.
Exactly.
Literally last night, I'll have to tell you about this after we're done recording. We are at the hospital. My husband's like, can I pass me one of Palmer's veggie sticks? Like, we just eat the kids' snacks.
And that's what I feel like my diet sometimes could be, like a bite of a chicken nugget, a bite of a bar, a leftover grape.
How much sugar is in this, though?
Was it 7 grams, 5 grams, 6
oh my God,
grams?
I feel like my eyes.
My rule was under 10.
4.
Yeah.
5.
Under 10. I said it has to be single digits. That was another thing.
Oh my God, this is delicious.
I like that one most.
Yeah. That was my favorite too.
That is so good. But when you said it, I'm like,
No, that's
that
my
is
favorite.
so good.
Yeah. So everyone says like my husband ate the whole box or I ate the box. I'm like, okay, well maybe we'll do something. I mean, we're in our infant stage. We're going to develop. We're going to change.
So buying on the website.
Yes. So supertruekids.com. And then we're going to start offering subscription as well. So that just shows up to your doorstep. You don't have to think about it. Just one less thing for parents to think about instead of having to like go onto the website, order this and that. So it just shows up every however often.
Okay, can you do them? Not that I'm trying to come in.
Yeah, tell me.
And like, so my kids love like the made good.
Yeah.
They love the ones that are like the granola balls, like that you can just like pick, you know, they're snackers.
Yeah.
Or I could put them in like other things. And so I love a bar idea, but I think you should do bite-sized ones.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like a package.
Like little chips. Chips. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Can I invest?
That would
Do you want a partner? Sorry, Kristen. This is actually...
You didn't know you were taking a business meeting.
Yeah, that will eventually happen. I mean, it's necessary in a business if you want to grow. So that's definitely going to happen.
Well, you've got your first investor.
Yeah.
Shark Tank.
Welcome to Shark Tank.
Hold on. Yeah. I feel like this is just the beginning for you. Yeah. Like you are so badass. You are going so many places. Just really quickly, like what is next? Obviously super true.
So I'll tell you what I'm a big fan of. Like I follow Patrick Bet-David. If you guys don't follow him, you should. He has an amazing book. It's called Your Next 5 Moves. And it's always thinking 5 steps ahead. So in a business, in life, in family, I'm always thinking 5 steps ahead, not 10. That's too overwhelming. 5 steps ahead and then working my way backwards. Just with the business, that's what I'm doing now. So eventually, I mean, everyone's dream is like sell the company for $100 million and live on a farm and be self-sustainable. Like, of course, that's my dream. But what I'm working towards right now is I'm really growing my newsletter, Girl Get It Done. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers in like 2 months, which is amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's so fun. I love writing. I've always loved writing. So that's more health focused as far as like confidence building, like all the things we struggle with as women, boundaries, finding the right women to support you, energy vampires, like goal setting, things like to make us better as women as moms. So that will hopefully, I'm manifesting a book deal. I would love to do kind of just like how to live your best self all around, physically, emotionally, in your marriage, in your friendships, in your work, in yourself. I would love to write a book. So that would be like my end goal. And then I'm loving doing the political commentating. I'm loving the people I'm meeting.
You love to have opinions.
I have some opinions, and
that's great.
It's just exciting. It's fun. I'm meeting a lot of smart people, and I love to do that. I love to be around smart people. I'm learning a ton.
Well, and I feel like it's so incredible for your kids, especially your 2 older ones, to see mommy doing this, like, and speaking up for what you believe in. I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like no woman really becomes a woman until you have kids.
100%.
Like,
I don't even remember life before kids.
Right. No. And I feel like that could be very
life.
controversial to say because I know that some women choose not to. But at least for me, I feel like after having kids, like something like awakens something in you that you're like, I am fueled. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like I'm like a lioness.
Yeah.
Like my middle son and I, we literally like do like lion love. We call them, like rub each other like lions. Like we're like a little lion unit. And like, I agree. Like I don't remember life before kids. Yeah. To each your own. You want to not have kids, like you said.
It's my opinion.
But
allegedly. Don't sue us.
But I am completely. I would not be here without my husband or my kids. Yeah. There's zero doubt about it. So yeah, like
you'd probably be overworked in like Palo Alto still and burning it from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Yep, and Xanax to sleep at night.
Yep. Which is very like normal.
It's a cocktail.
Mm-hmm. It's a cocktail that most people take, and I saw it firsthand. Yeah. And that's a whole other conversation. We have another e-commerce company for an Adderall replacement. So, or supplement, we should say. We cannot say replacement. But I just want to get to more of a holistic life. And so, like you said, like my kids, when Fox News comes to my house in a van, I always take my sons out to show them my little studio inside the van so they can see it, so they could be a part of it, you know, and see me going things. Always showing the why and the how we get there. And it's as simple
You're teaching them so much, too.
Yeah, and like little things, like my husband's building his garage into a gym because he's like, I need the boys to see me work out. And we're actually going to Vegas this weekend and we're surprising the boys. We take them everywhere. Like, I just love it. There's times, trust me, I need a break too. And I love my time with my husband. But we're surprising them to Vegas. He's competing at a high rocks competition, which is kind of similar to like a CrossFit Games type of thing. More high endurance, I think. But it's going to be the first time because when they were 2 and 7 months, they don't remember him playing.
They need to watch Daddy.
See him compete because he goes to the gym or he goes on runs. So like, it's important for us to show them working out, show us
taking care of yourself,
show us taking care so that they take care of themselves. Like, we forget as parents, you obviously, like, mostly parents listen to this, right?
Yeah. Well, they mirror your behavior. Yes. So like when you're cooking, like we talk about cooking, like I know how frustrating it is having your kids in the kitchen. It's like, don't grab that, don't touch that, don't break, like, but having them with you cooking is so important. It's the very few times that I am cooking.
Well, it's funny, my daughter is obsessed with cleaning because I'm like super shocker.
Are you OCD?
She takes her wipe and she just cleans all around the house now. So, but it's good. It's like we're teaching them. Our kids, and you hear about generational curses or addiction, it's like they learned from or people say it runs in the family. It's like, no, being obese does not run in the family at all genetically. It is your bad, disgusting lifestyle habits that you grew up with and that you see and have been normalized and glorified. Like that runs in the family.
Yeah, they do what you do. They don't do what you say.
Yes, exactly.
And you teach your kids, but you also share so much on social. You're such a good follow on social because you like.
I never know.
No, you are stalking you last time. Like now, I feel so uncomfortable. Like your husband came in. And like,
oh, people love him.
That video you posted of him shirtless, and you're like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about him. Starting to sweat, Kristen. Like now he's in my home.
No, Kristen is such a good follow.
I texted my husband. I told him, hey, I'm like, just so you know, there's a man outside and he's our guest's husband. I don't want him to be like looking at the ring like, who is this man?
No,
you're a great follow. So tell everyone where they can follow you and your husband.
Yeah, you can actually. He needs to get on social. He's missing out on so many.
Oh no, follow you just
because
no, do not get him on social. They just need to follow you.
Yeah, it's so funny. Actually, we joke his last 3 posts have been back at it. Like back at it with football, back at it with baseball, back at it with football again. Like
and then dark.
And then like just once a year, which was 3 years ago.
To check in.
Yeah, so you can follow me at Kristen Lowell. I'm on TikTok as well. I rarely post there, but I post funny stuff with the kids on there. That does well. So at Kristen Well, and then KristenWell.com has my merch, which I have some fun wellness merch there. A really cool hat I'm really excited to share coming soon. And then follow me on my newsletter, Girl Get It Done. All of this is in my bio or my website. And I think that's it. Yeah.
And then where you can buy the snacks.
Oh, supertruekids.com.
The most important. Supertruekids.com.
Delicious.
Yeah, I'm so happy you guys love that.
I'm so excited you brought us not only like samples, but like the stuff for the kids.
I'll send you more too.
Oh my God, you're the best.
This
Thank
is amazing.
you so much for
and
being
so
here.
inspiring. I feel like a girl needs to get it done.
Yes. No, you guys are crushing it. You guys are crushing it. I'm so proud. And you guys are so beautiful.
No, you are.
Like,
I'm like, what are you? No, I'm like looking at like the Sports Illustrated models sitting here. Like, what?
I know. We're not doing
enough. Talking about hot husband. Like, no, it's hot wife.
No, yeah. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Camp Chaos. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Connect with us on social media at Camp Chaos Podcast. Until next time, campers.